reading.
Right.
The final version probably won't be approved till the fall.
Okay. Make sure you take the top pot, Jim. The bottom one doesn't,
Yeah.
there's no automatic shut off.
Just makes a mess.
Yep.
everyone. We'll call our first meeting to order here at 8:31. And we are convening the Yates County Capital Resource Corporation. We'll start with the introduction of our guests. We have Steve Meyer here with their speech. Hi, Steve. Thanks. David Fitch and Jim Moody. Thanks for coming, guys. Let's passing these out. Do we need an executive session for this?
Yes, to discuss company financials.
Okay. So I would ask for a motion to enter executive session.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Something on here.
Our guests, excuse us, this shouldn't be real long, but we have get our guests in, and Mike, you want to bring us live? You guys want to hop back in?
Very good.
Right. Ask for a motion to enter open session.
So moved.
Sid?
Second.
All right, thank you. So no action was taken in executive session. We're now back in open session, and so item 3 here is a review and approval of our minutes from our May 17th meeting.
Second string.
Any comments or changes? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carried. Are there any changes to this agenda? How about a finance report?
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. All right, we'll move on to action items. We have a pending loan request from the Yates County Agricultural Society.
The Yates County Agricultural Society is seeking a $25,000 loan. Term would be 2 years and 24 months of interest-only payments. Loan to be used to assist in the purchase of a tractor or a loader to help on the grounds. Collateral filing and lien on the tractor, which is a 2005 John Deere loader.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Further discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's carried. And then would I ask for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thanks. So we're gonna get our next agenda out here, and we'll call the meeting to order for the Finger Lakes Horizon Economic Development Corporation. We're 8:37. And we have one additional guest, Russ Kenzel has joined us, also with their speech. So good morning, Russ. Thanks for joining. We do need an executive session for this entity, because we have a pending loan request, and we'll review the company financials in executive session. So I'd ask for a motion to enter executive.
So moved. Second. And also stepping up because Natalie is financial.
live session. All right, guys, thanks for your patience.
I feel like you're back in the 70s, the inflation. Something everything was back like bag of chips. Now it's like, you know it's bad, but I'm surprised.
We're good. All right, for a motion to resume open session. Tim?
Second.
We'll move on with our agenda items here, and we'll start with a review and approval of the minutes from our May 17th meeting.
Move to approve.
Ms. Serene, any comments or discussion on the minutes, any changes needed? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carried. I don't believe we have any changes for this agenda,
No.
so we'll move on to the finance report. Okay. So then, item 6 here, the action item is the pending loan request for Natson LLC. Turn it over to Mike.
Yep, so Natson LLC is requesting a $100,000 loan to assist with the build out of a full-service kitchen, purchase kitchen equipment, some final renovations and small inventory purchases. Term on the loan would be 5 years, interest at 2%, reduced down to 1%, with automatic home payments. Collateral on the loan would be the UCC filing on the equipment and assets of Natson LLC, and personal guarantees from Natalie Travis and Cindy Rosado. The project is projected to create 5 full-time equivalent positions over the next 3 years.
Move to approve covenant.
Second.
Right, for the guests, this is in 111 Liberty Street in the block building on the Liberty Street Bridge. This is in the basement, is where this business is operating. Nice to see that space occupied with such a nice looking business space. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions on that? We'll call for a vote. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carried. That'll conclude the agenda for this meeting, so I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. With that, we'll turn to call the meeting to order for the Finger Lakes Economic Development Center. We're at 8:52. We have our same guests, and our next item would be an executive session. I do believe we have one. For this, we have a.
Exercise.
Do you need to have it? Exactly. Hold on a second, Jim. Do we need?
Wheels
We're not really getting into specific company.
Yeah, I actually don't think there's a need to.
Yeah. Yeah. Just got you up anyway.
Wait till they sit down and then I'll say, yeah, we probably should.
Yeah.
My second thought. All right. Then we'll pass that if something comes up and people feel more comfortable, or we can go into one. So we met for this meeting on June 21st, so we have the review and approval of the minutes from that meeting.
So moved covenant.
Tim?
Second.
Sorry. Any discussion on the minutes? Any recommended changes? Okay, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carried. Do we have any changes in this agenda?
No.
Wow.
Yeah, did it.
All right, so the finance report for this, I know we do have a finance report for this.
Yep. I have checks today, 6275 to 6299. 6299 is not on your check report. And then the total of, plus E131 to E133, which is the payroll of New York State retirement, and that totals $57,391.04. If there's anything out of the ordinary we need to pay. I don't know if anybody's got any questions on anything else.
June financials and then the January to June results and compare to last year, and then here the loan capitalization reports, status reports are all included in the finance package. Start with a motion. Do you think?
So moved.
Second, Marina. Any further discussion or questions for Doreen on any of the items in the finance package report? Yeah, this motion is to pay those specific checks and to accept the reports.
So moved.
We've got that, so we'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carried. On the status reports, management reports, who wants to go first?
I'll just welcome our newest business, Outlet 111, which we discussed in our prior meeting, but new restaurant and tavern just opened up last week. So we welcome them. They'll be open this Thursday with their normal hours, which is through Thursday through Tuesday. Wednesday will be the only day that they're closed.
Okay. Do you know what the hours are? Did you just say? Is it noon to?
I can tell you specifically. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday will be noon to 8. Friday and Saturday, 12 to 9. And Sunday, 11 to 3.
Good, we should all get over there and check it out at some point in time. Welcome them to town.
It's been a long time coming, and nice to have a commercial business in that building that's been under repair for a while, so congrats to them. The only other thing I'll add is tickets for the bridge dinner are gonna go on sale on August 1st, so we're just a couple weeks away from that. Dinner will be held September 9th. It will just be one release of tickets. So make sure you're ready and ready to go on August 1st if you want to attend. They sold out really quick last year. I think 6 hours it was. So.
Will you give us a heads up?
I will. Yeah. Yep. We'll let you know exactly what time they're going to go on sale.
The link.
Yeah. Looking forward to that event again.
Thanks, Mike. Steve, what do you have for us?
You know, actually nothing really to add on to this unless there's questions or discussions on housing or anything like that, but
Do you want to get any update on the housing stuff? Or did people get a chance to read it? We got that last night, the status report.
yeah, basically we're going back to the drawing board. We gotta find housing that works for that property. That doesn't have upper income limits attached to it, so.
But with the same developer?
No.
Oh, so all the way back. Okay.
We need to find another developer.
Right, and after back to having discussions with potential developers, and there's interest. But, you know, challenge will be the cost of construction. That's why a lot of the income eligible projects are still moving forward, because they can get lots of tax incentives through the state and for it, and market rate doesn't. So it becomes more of a challenge.
Thank you. Keep us updated on that as it develops, and we'll be talking about it again.
What price point are you looking at for housing there?
Market rate, sort of middle income type housing, for owner occupied and for rent is fine. But the ones the development we had going had upper income limits attached to it that were below entry level wages. So it didn't make sense to go forward with that.
Or even some of those wages wouldn't be enough to pay for the cost of the housing, even at a mid-range, right? Just barely?
They Well, supposedly they could, I mean, that's how they come up with the rates, the market
Okay,
rate or the
okay.
rent rates, is using, whatever it is, 30%,
Okay.
or 20% of the
And it's
annual salaries. But if they got that salary, they wouldn't be able to live there, 'cause
Right,
it makes no sense.
the upper
So,
limit would
Right,
preclude
they
them,
go
right,
over,
yeah.
it, right.
This is one time when I'm glad I'm old, let me just say, when we're talking about housing. Sorry, I'm just kidding.
Would you ever sell off the house and barn that's there on that property as a separate entity? 5 acres
Likely
or
not.
something?
Likely not until we know what the whole, the board has discussed that in the past, and we want it to kind of blend in with the rest of the park. So, we wouldn't want that to be there, sitting there by itself, and then have something completely different come in, or whoever we do the project with, we'd like to have them utilize that in some way within their overall development.
What about, a little more about the economic development program, administrator, or, so how did local businesses know that they could set up employment with this individual? Just
We
curious.
sent out, through our constant contact, we sent out emails to individuals, and then we did make some phone calls, to those that we knew had expressed interest in the past, about it. But
And did you get a sense of, I see the businesses that you're listing here, but did you get a sense of like what type of projects they're more specific about? Just specific, but in general, like what they're doing,
Just
like.
generally specific.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
So they're
exactly.
they're mostly small business, not all small business. A handful of them in the craft beverage industry, to which the state does have a new craft beverage grant program, but it might be the mother of all fights to get the money. It's $5 million total for the entire state. That any craft beverage company can apply for. So it's good. It's a good start. It's a good start, and I think maybe, I doubt it was planned this way, but I think the amount of applications the state would likely receive for it would probably lend itself to seeing a bigger fund for it in the following years.
Do they have like strict guidelines around what you can do with that grant?
Yeah, they're
It's for small
generally state guidelines, what it'll be for materials and equipment. You can't acquire property, it's mainly build out what you have, renovations, that sort of thing.
Increase production.
Thank you.
Yeah, we should see some, as I've mentioned to others, the number of applications have done it now, this will be year 13 or 14 on the scoring committee. The first year, I don't even remember how many applications we scored. 400 or 500, and last year, now the state has, there used to be, they'd open it up once, the CFA process, they'd open up once, you had to get your grants in. And so you got hit with all these applications. Now they claim it's open all year, but in reality, it's like 3 or 4 rounds of it. And every subsequent round has less money based on what was doled out in the previous round. But even the first round, and they've also done scoring a little bit different, so we only see the Empire State Development capital grant requests now, so it's sort of the more traditional economic development grants. But a couple dozen, maybe we'll see 30, but it's considerably down. We haven't actually had a Yates County submission in at least 2 years. For at least I would say it from the for-profit side, anyways. I think that will definitely change this time around. There's just projects haven't been there or of the size that could really compete.
Any other questions for any of these guys on the management reports? Okay.
Just wanted to bring up, I sent Steve, late yesterday, draft copy of the environmental protection plan. And he's gonna send it out to the board, PDF form. But we've been working for the last 2 years in the county. And this is an update. Last one was, I think, 2004. So it's got a good profile of the agricultural industry in Yates County, along with a number of goals and developed with the help of consultant.
Look forward to seeing it.
Background
Yeah, very
information.
interesting, yeah.
Good.
All right, then let's move on to the action items.
The other comment, question, the Regional Economic Development Council meeting now is in August, August 10th.
Good point. Yeah, so the regional council, yeah, it's gonna be August 10th. The regional council, economic development council is gonna, they, as I think I mentioned last board meeting, they pushed it off a couple months. It was originally scheduled for the end of last month in June, but the consultants the state has hired to help do the new strategic plan weren't on yet or hadn't been on board very long yet, so they pushed it off to August 10th.
You're hosting that?
It's gonna be at the Seasons Banquet Facility at the Hampton, but yeah, it's the local economic development group, and depending on who's hosting, either the chair of the planning board or chair of the legislature, or if it's hosted at a college, the president of that college do a little welcome and overview of the community to start things off. And then there will be, I think we mentioned last time, we're trying to put together some or we will put together, not trying, we're gonna have package put together for all the attendees who come, some coupons, specials, that sort of thing, to try to keep them around the community for at least that day. Hopefully they try to extend their stay throughout the weekend, and then the actual board members, the committee members themselves, there's a lunch that the state is hosting. I don't think they've confirmed where it's going to be yet, but somewhere in the immediate area. So it'll be nice to give people a chance to see
Index will be around the corner.
see what's going on. Yeah, I gave them a whole bunch of lists and had them go through, and one of the potential other benefits of it getting pushed off is Main Street's basically back open, which is helpful, and August 10th should still see a tremendous amount of traffic, so that might be kind of an eye opener for a lot of the people who haven't been here in the summer to see the amount of activity that is on the roads at that time.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of comments about anticipation of that.
Good.
From people around the region, the Genesee Finger Lakes.
It's pretty neat to
Regional
see.
Planning Council people have been asking me a lot of questions.
There's a lot of interest for people to come down and see it, which is great to hear. Like, it's because generally there isn't a whole lot of talk about where the next meeting is, and this one has generated it. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And we're in the far southeast corner of that 9-county region. And so there are a lot of people that, Orleans County, Genesee County, they don't get down here very often, so they are trying to look for ways to get the most out of their travel.
It's good. It's good because we do see. I mean, there's not surprisingly a drop off in attendance when the meetings go to sort of one of the extreme perimeter parts of the 9 counties. You usually lose a fair number of people from the opposite end, but hopefully not this time. It could be anywhere from 50 to 150, 200 people at it, maybe.
We're trying to.
Steve, is
Wonder
there,
if
you
they
said
could
you
offer
were
us
doing
some.
coupons and stuff, maybe,
So
do
we'll-
you need any help putting together like an email or an invitation or like a, just a weekend itinerary?
We might, sure, I'm never gonna turn down help. We're working with the chamber on it
Oh, they're
to
on
put
it.
it together.
Got
But,
Not us, okay, sorry.
well, I'll keep calling it, I'm not gonna say no.
Well, I mean, like little mini itineraries, like, you know, here's a little wine tasting one, here's a little water sport one. Somebody who might have, whatever, you know, just, I mean, there's so many things to do, but I don't think people know what they are, you
Yeah.
know, so.
Yeah, or where to go to find them.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the key. I think you get know that it's
Yeah.
here, they just don't know where to go get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
All right, we're gonna move on to item 7, which is our action item, number 1, and it's the final resolution for the Cuba Springs Vineyard straight lease back application.
I'm gonna give it, these are 8 packets, so
Okay.
Yeah. we can all go together.
Here's a packet, I'll pass it around. An entire
I
packet.
think I have enough board members, you know. Three, you know.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
You need to share, Steve?
No, I think I'm good. So Cuba Springs Vineyard LLC is looking to do an expansion on their facility to construct a 2,500 square foot press pad and a 3,200 square foot warehouse on the northern end of their building. So if you look at this one, it's KSB at the top. There's an image of it. It's going to be attached to the northern end, so where you see the parking lot, and some of the vehicles. They're just bumping the building out that way to put this expansion on. It's roughly a $400,000 project. It's going to create let's see, 4 jobs. I believe over the next 3 years. Yeah, 4 jobs over the next 3 years. Looking at this is actually going to be our 15-year pilot. It's expanding their manufacturing process of turning the grapes into wine. Like I said, roughly $400,000 project. The sales tax exemption is projected to be $16,000 in savings to them. There's a potential, we have a mortgage tax exemption projection in there, which I don't have on the proposal because they don't think they're going to use it, so it's not what I projected. I think we have up to what, 10,000 is what we said.
I think
4,000 in the exemption there. Yeah, that makes sense. And then the tax savings. If we look at this, you can kind of see down the on the economic summary, the total potential property tax abatement on the project is just over $58,000 over the lifetime. So you add all those up, the total savings to them we're projected to be just shy of $75,000 over the 15 years. When you add in the salaries that they're paying the potential hires, and then I always had to explain this part. I plug these projects into our database, to the Jobs EQ database we have. It gives me how many induced and indirect jobs will be created. Those are secondary jobs, sort of downstream positions from it, and the salaries associated with what those would be. I also plug those in. We show how much the company is going to pay in pilots, make pilot payments over that same time, and the total economic benefit to the community over that same time period is $4.1 million. So it's a 56-to-1 community benefit to community investment ratio. So it's a pretty good investment for us. Cupid Springs Vineyards has been under, recently was acquired, so as new owners, they're looking to do some pretty big things at the facility, at the property, and this
Any big
is,
things beyond the warehouse?
Yep, this is phase 1. So we're already talking to them about potential phase 2 and even 3 project, but this is the one they're pushing forward on this time now. Took a long time to get the liquor license through the state in the acquisition of the property. Basically a year it took, so it pushed back some of their projects to turn it into a smaller phase 1 versus.
That's problematic when you're away. See, what will they do with the parking over here? Cause I know they do, I mean, they're my neighbors. They do those Sunday events and they're packed, which is awesome, you know, so is that, I assume that's in their phasing?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And they just won another award. They wanted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For unblocked line.
Yeah, it was the best red line in the state.
That's, yeah.
So I don't think that's not my favorite one.
They have that.
Every one's-
All right,
So they,
we're,
well,
And then this.
we need to have, that one.
On Sundays.
So-
So, things are really-
I don't have it.
short form?
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's super fun. Nice wings too. So, and if you want to go wait certain things, I love
There's
wings.
one being printed out, I must not have printed it.
I'm the lake, so. Wings are fun.
So, because they have, it's a pre-existing facility, it met all the local zoning requirements. The only thing they needed to get from the town of Milo was basically a building permit to go forward with the project. So it did not go in front of the town planning board, so therefore there was no lead agency status taking of these. So anytime we do one of these projects, there has to be environmental review and there has to be a lead agent taken. They completed the first part of the short environmental form, saying there weren't, explaining the project, that there wasn't going to be any significant impacts to the project. They did not have to go get any unique approvals. And so then we have to, and we've done this a couple of different times. We did this for Oak Hill, Bulk Foods. There was another one in Milo we had to do. I think Cupid Ventures we did too. Cupid Ventures, we had to be the lead agent status. So there is in your things that passed around, there is the part 2, which we then have to go through. And I went through and filled it out I should say I spoke to the code enforcement officer in Milo. He explained all of this as well and said there is no, in his opinion, there's no dramatic impacts at all to anything. It readily fits in the area and the zoning and all that. It has no issues at all with the project. In the past, and we can do it again, we've kind of gone down through these as a board just to make sure everyone's in approval or in agreement of these, of my answers to it anyways. And again, they're expanding onto the existing footprint of the building, pushing out towards the north. And they're not having to increase anything else there. It's just a production of their pad and warehouse storage. So I'll go through these real quick. To each of these, I responded that there would be no or a small impact may occur. So will the proposed action create a material conflict? The adopted land use or zoning regulations? No. And again, if there's questions in any of it, stop me. I'm going to go, because a number of them I'll go relatively quick, but please stop if you have any questions. proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the use of the land? I said no. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Again, I'm saying no or a small impact. Will proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environment area? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? We said no. Proposed action cause an increase in use of energy as it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities. Again, no or small. Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies or public-private wastewater treatment utilities? Again, no or small impacts. Will it impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No or small.
It's always a tongue twister.
Nailed it. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources? I said no. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No or small impact. That would be within the building permit. They'll get,
Sure it's right.
right, they'll have
So
to
it's
get,
not down in Janice's yard?
so, right, so.
That's what I was just gonna say.
We had to aim everything at Janice's lawn,
Yeah.
help her gardens out.
Now,
That's,
could I retarget that to some of my neighbors? No, I'm just kidding.
It does seem like there's an
They've
issue.
been pretty good neighbors, right?
Yeah, so I do think, yeah, they're great. I mean, I walk up there all the time, but I do think we may want to consider as the development goes around, you know, the hills, because these flash floods, I mean, it's crazy how powerful they are, and they look, what looks like a very benign little stream becomes this raging monster, and full-on trees come down into the lake. I mean, it's crazy. So I don't know that this has any, you know, more or less than anything else, but I think it's something that we want to make sure people are diligent about, because the change to the landscape, it's significant. I never would have thought it, except now I see it, I live it when it happens. So I think we should be diligent, you know, about that piece of it. Marian, to your point, yeah, make sure they have proper runoff, or they somehow spread it out, right? Because it just gets funneled into these narrow areas, and you know, I can see at the bottom of their hill that whole area washing out.
Yeah.
Because it's steep.
Yeah, it's,
The only way to mitigate that is to look at the site plan.
Right, yeah, I assume they've, you know, built that in, of course. Yeah.
yeah, all that building, the contractors have to put all the
Yeah.
tarping and all that out to prevent that runoff and.
Yeah, I mean, it's even after the build,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Because I don't think we actually, it's almost like you have to simulate it to figure out what's gonna happen. Because they also have that beautiful little kind of trickling stream that comes down the south side of the driveway going up there. You know, when it rains, it's fierce, you know, it's still beautiful, but at some point I can imagine that just, you know, again, just washing out, but,
It's, Tim, you can probably speak to it, there's discussions on this
constantly.
everywhere
Yeah.
right now because of a lot of it, a lot of the farms put in a ton of drainage, a lot of tiling to handle water sitting on their crops, and,
Yeah.
and there's a thought that that's contributing to some of this runoff because the drains are doing what they're supposed to, right? They're disseminating the.
Which is great as long as the downstream part is also, you know, built up to handle it, because.
So you got the steep slope laws now that, you know,
Good.
with each of these projects, they have to adhere to and meet, and they all deal with just that, the steep slope, how do you handle flow and speed of the runoff, so that.
It's crazy. I mean, you look at that, what happened in Vermont, just, you know, what, 7.5 inches in hours, and, or like what happened to our downtown, whatever that was 10 years ago. I mean, who knew, right? I mean, it just comes out of nowhere.
All right.
Crazy.
That
Anyway,
was 10 years ago.
was it?
14.
Applications.
Wow, that was a good guess.
On item 10, almost all of our steep slope applications get a moderate to large impact may occur. And then it's on part 3, it state that it's mitigated by an approved site plan.
Okay.
So when they start the project, they still want to do a site review. The town planning commission.
And then again, when it's
But
done,
shoot,
though, they come back.
they don't.
It's
Yeah.
a change. If the change is relatively minor, like you say, just moving the north end of the building out a little bit, you know, that's probably why they said they did.
He said it's a pre-existing facility that fits within their proposed action, fits within the zoning. And
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, I can see exactly where they're gonna put that, I can see why they would say that.
Yeah. Is Vernon Martin gonna be the contractor for this?
I don't know.
He was the contractor. The building he built
I'm not sure.
years ago. He's a very good contractor.
Okay.
Do we identify that as a concern, or is that the purpose of the review?
We can, I mean, sure, we can do what the board feels here. It's a relatively small structure going up. So, you know, 5,400 square foot
Yeah.
building attached to an existing building.
Yeah. I've run into that, because I'm just a couple miles down the road, up on the hill, you know, and when a house went in behind us, practically took out our garage, and then, now a house went in front of us, I mean, just a house, and the way that our yard was draining, they're coming back telling us that we've gotta do something different, but I would have thought that the builder coming in and the engineers would have realized, it's very obvious that we've got a sluice that goes down, and it was a farm, it was a field, like a farm, you know, wasn't, so now that's a big problem, so that's why I'm just thinking that houses created an issue, but
Yeah.
if they come back and just make sure that they correct it after the fact, you know, that's, if there's an issue, if they stand behind that, then, yeah.
I mean, that was my feeling as well. I mean, 5,400 square feet is slightly bigger than most houses, but it's, even a house it shifts that, and that steepness, wherever that ends up going, right, goes to the lowest point, funnels through things that are this big, it just blows it out. So, I don't know how.
It's coming on the north side, it's like it's on the parking lot, so it's an impervious surface now is where the building's going to. It's going over top of the parking lot. So it's not, if I'm understanding that correctly, it's not making grass roof, you know, it's just going on the parking lot. The next phase, when they expand the parking lot, would then, you know.
Yeah, the parking lot, I think it's gravel, so, you know, it is, again, I'm all for this, I think it's fantastic, but I think we have to have a way, because what, in my simple mind, if this is the 5,400 square foot building, it's now blocking what would have come across the parking lot in a broad stream. It would hit it and go across it and go down the sides of it, and then those would go to the lowest point on the other side. And I mean, it's amazing how magnified it is as it comes down, but I think just making sure it's addressed is my vote. I'm not saying stop her or do anything different, but I think it's, because there was a creek over here, this is a creek right here, and then there's a creek over here too. Maybe not on that. I'm trying to think where that comes down. No, I don't think there's a creek over here. So in that case, it may be fine, but I think it's a concern we need to raise and make sure people pay attention to it. Not stopping anything.
Okay, any other comments on that? So do we want, is the thought it's big enough to say it's a moderate to large impact, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know the scale, so with a runoff issue, what would be moderate to large versus small? Like, obviously, it's not no impact, it will have some impact.
Yeah.
But we're gonna need to pick one of these. Because we're gonna complete the form today, so it's either checking.
Yeah, I think the box is checked, but I again, if there's just a statement we can make to just keep people aware,
Sure.
to make sure the diligence is done.
Well, you know, in the back of the form it's talking about, even if it's a yes, you can add some language.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
Part 3 here that says that there could be a follow-up conversation with
Yeah.
the town to confirm what their requirements are under the building permit.
You know, even just specifically rent off, you know, whatever they can do to.
You know, you want to verify. And once they have a site plan, you want to verify, town should verify that there won't be creating any drainage issues. I think we can, we can leave the first part 2 the way it is.
Okay.
But I think that comment probably ought to be added to part 3 before they sign it.
That we want to verify through the town that proper,
There won't be any new drainage issues created. It doesn't need to be complicated as long as it's something there that reflects the county's view.
Thanks, Deb, yeah, I think that.
The proposed drainage solution complies with the current zoning, which has all incorporated the steep slopes. You know, I'm trying to think of what the land use leadership alliance, the HUA, that went around the list, that all the towns adopted that steep slope.
I don't know if mine is close. Compared to the Jersey.
It's a good suggestion.
Thank you, Steve.
But it doesn't need to be elaborate.
Yeah,
Okay.
agreed.
Just reflect the conversation.
Thank you. Is that good for you, Marianne? Is that good for you?
Yeah.
So Steve's right, and then the 11th one here, it says the proposed action will create a hazard to environmental resources and human health. So there's no check to that.
Not unless I'm walking up there and get washed out.
Refer back to flood issue.
See, point 2 of Janice is missing from a meeting.
I make a motion for a negative declaration.
Oh, I think
Discussion.
are we gonna need a specific vote on this, or are we gonna do it all together in the final resolution?
we probably do need a secret
I think
resolution.
this is Ross, sorry to interrupt. I think the neg deck secret determination is included within the resolution.
Okay.
And Steve, just to clarify, we have there's 3 types of, and I don't want to bore with the legal side of secret, but there's 3 types of action. The first one is a type 1, which is a big one. You've got to declare yourself as a lead agent, notifying any other potential impacted municipality. Then there's an unlisted action, which is the most typical, smaller project that they should fill out a short form, and the board here doesn't have to give notice to anybody. We can just neg deck it. And then there's a type 2 action, which basically is exempt from seeker purchasing equipment, for example. So this is unlisted, and Steve Meyer, correct me if I'm wrong, but the language is in the resolution. So
Yep.
So there's no need for a separate resolution unless you want to proceed with that.
No, I think that's good to point out, and thanks for the additional detail on the seeker types. So the language.
Yeah, I don't worry about that.
So
We'll handle that stuff.
the language adopting this as the negative declaration, which is what it would be, and adding that caveat when Steve signs it, is included in the final resolution that has been shared with us and is in this packet, so it won't be a
I
separate.
didn't see anything here about. secret. I didn't see anything in the existing resolution about secret.
And section 1F.
Section 1, yeah.
On page 3.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, we're good.
Yep.
Let's cover them all. So we knew where we were going.
So, is there anything else, Steve, you want to share the cost benefit analysis of the seeker? Is there anything else to present as part of this resolution?
Is there any questions?
So I procedurally start with a motion.
Motion to approve the resolution as submitted.
Second.
Second?
All right, so any further discussion or comments before we take a vote? So a resolution would be to approve this final resolution, there would be a roll call vote.
Right?
There's a quorum, the Lions Bank is a lender that works with the company, although I'm not directly involved at all in the relationship, I'm gonna abstain from this, just to be careful.
Alright, Candace?
Yes.
Serena?
Yes.
Candace, absent. Mary Ann?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And Amy is
Okay. Thank you, Dory. So that passes, and that concludes our agenda. So our next scheduled meeting is August 16th, and until then, hope everybody stays well and enjoys the weather.